Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. And just a brief welcome to the members of the watershed team that are on our link nice and early with us tonight. So if we want to go ahead and start off, Derek, if you want to do roll call, that'd be great.
Yeah, so Lucy is here. James, you here? Joey Holland is going to be late tonight. Jake?
Here.
T?
Here.
I meant Jake Foray. Foray?
Sam Foray.
Oh, shoot. My bad, Sam. Sorry. I don't know where I got Jake. Jose?
Here.
Shaylee?
Here.
Grace?
Here.
Tyler?
Here.
Joe?
Here.
Arish?
Here.
Thomas?
Here.
Lauren?
Here.
Jake Ogano is here. Carlos?
Here.
Myself. Maggie?
Here.
Stephanie?
Here.
Liz?
Here.
Rachel?
Here.
Olivia? Becca?
Here.
Brett?
Here.
Gisette?
Here.
Chase?
Here.
Caitlin?
Here.
Andrew?
Here.
Happy birthday. Preston?
Here.
Austin Glass?
Here.
Stephen? Austin Lynn.
Austin Lynn is not coming tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Awesome. So James, we're going to start recording now. And with that, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion. Second.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys, we can get right into committee updates. And Brett Walsh, you are first on my screen with intellectual climate.
Perfect. So I got a date for Pizza with the Provost. It's going to be March 30th, 5:30 to 6:30. Put it in your calendars. I'm working on getting it ACS approved now, and possibly trying to come up with a different name for it other than Pizza with the Provost, because it's going to be over Zoom, so there's no pizza. If anyone has any thoughts, they can text me or DM me on GroupMe. Coming up with some possibilities, but it's a work in progress.
Great, thank you. Next up, Caitlin Dellinger, if you want to go ahead with campus climate.
No big updates here. If anybody has specific questions they would like to ask Father Peter, let me know.
Great, thank you. Shaylee, if you want to go ahead with Slack.
My only real update is that the Novanook stuff is coming in, so that'll be stocked soon.
Awesome, great to hear. And Derek, if you want to go ahead with mission and social justice.
Yeah, so we're moving ahead with Friar Fridays. Very excited about that. The only other thing is that I independently am now also looking into potential apps that students can use to de-stress and to reduce anxiety on campus. Many of you know the Calm app. Notre Dame used it. We're looking into that. But there's also a couple other apps that we're looking into as well. Each of the chairs, as well as James and Lucy, as well as Amanda, I believe got demos, like 14-day trials. So if you're interested in learning a bit more about it or want to hear about their experience, perhaps they can share a little bit if they've used it. But certainly feel free to contact me if you have any questions about something like that, because that's a bigger project.
Great, thank you. And then I can just give the update for Austin Lynn in the caucus. He said that there's no real update this week. He's meeting with Joe next week. And if anyone is looking to help with writing the new amendments for the DE&I senators and VP position, reach out to him. They are in need of assistance, and his GroupMe is a little funky. So he asked that I put his number in the chat. So if anyone wants to help out with that, feel free to reach out to Austin. And then Caroline, if you want to go ahead with community first and exec, that would be great.
Hi everyone. I don't know why I'm wearing this. So I have actually a lot of updates this week. I have a lot of links that I'm going to mention. So I did a little thing and there they all are in the chat. So first for Community First, we're very excited and like feeling optimistic about the numbers, but we obviously have to stay on top of it and keep putting Community First. You all know that Slow the Spread has been like we've ended the directive, but we're still keeping the limits on residence hall guests for the time being. Please keep sending questions or anything you'd like to see in the weekly recap emails because they want material for that. Community First activities are making a grand return, like fire pits and all of that. Well, more info on that soon. Amanda and I's lovely pavilion surveillance testing video got canceled because of snow, so keep your eyes out for that one. We're gonna redo that, and then the next Community First meeting is Friday at 3:30, so we'll have an update for you after that. And then for SGA updates, Amanda and I presented at the student involvement fair that just happened this evening. Me, Amanda, and Ivanitsa are meeting with members of DE&I. Oh, Amanda's here. Hi, Amanda. We're meeting with members of DE&I tomorrow to plan an internal dialogue event for SGA, kind of like what we did last semester. There is now an SGA alumni LinkedIn page. Shout out to Christina, who is one of our members in DE&I, for that idea, and you can join that. One of the links I had was to keep giving feedback on the Middle States review that Tyler and Alexis presented about a few weeks ago. We also have had several SGA members appointed to the Equitas Task Force General Committee, which is going to start meeting, so we will keep you informed on that. The health center, Amanda and I dropped off food for them yesterday, and they were very grateful. And then I'm still working on the thank you note thing for them, so that is one of the links if you want to throw a quick thank you for them. Amanda is meeting with Provost Majidi on March 10th, so you can text her or Zoom DM her if you have any questions for him. We're still working on staff appreciation stuff. Amanda's working on a leadership summit for staff and admin, like where SGA members would meet with different leaders across campus. And then Amanda's working on something that would reflect the Davis Fund, which is currently something within VSB where students can apply for funds to do extra things like go to professional conferences. We're looking at doing something like that within student involvement for students for whom the membership fee or anything for joining a student org is a barrier for them participating. And the other two things are just the two other links that I shared, which the Equitas Task Force is giving an update briefing tomorrow, 12 to 1:30. And then the Sustainability Leadership Council is also giving an update tomorrow. And as always, if you have questions, hit me up.
Thanks, Caroline. And one other update tonight from our lovely advisor, Joe Sotera. If you could hop on, Joe.
Thank you, Lucy. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update for the timeline for everything that's going to take place once the election season has officially ended. So for all the first year students and the students who are new to SGA this year, this might be nothing new. This is all new for you. But for all the returning students, this might be a little bit new. And I just want to inform you that our timeline is going to look a little different than it has in the past. So the first piece is, elections end on the 18th the elections will be 18th and the 19th and results will be released on the 19th. From there, we're looking to convene the new Senate and have a swearing in ceremony on Wednesday, March 31st. And at that, meeting, the hope is to swear in the president, the vice president, whoever is going to be in the DE&I leadership position. Those three people from the executive branch will be sworn in. In addition, you're going to have the speaker selected and the dean selected at those meetings. The week after that, so Wednesday, the 7th, April 7th, the hope is to have chairs selected for each committee and committees formed, and the directors nominated and approved during a Senate meeting. So this is all happening during a regular Wednesday Senate meetings, these past two things. From there, those people who are in leadership roles will meet on Sunday, April 18th. So I define a leadership role as anything in like a director position in the executive branch, or obviously like, president, vice president. And then in the legislative branch, that would be all of the chairs, the dean, the speaker, those positions, and in the judicial branch, that would be the chief justice. They would convene on the 11th of April, the 18th of April, which is a Sunday, to sort of plan out what the transitions retreat will look like for the entire body. In addition to that, the advisors, myself, JJ, Sid, and Dr. Berry, we're going to talk to the students about really like orienting them to their roles. So for like the students that I advise, you, all the people in the Senate, like that's just like really hammering down for the chairs, like what is it that your role is going to encompass and entail, like, right? Working on some of those things. And then from there, the week after that, the 18th, which I think is Sunday, the 25th, is when, all of SGA will meet, whether that's virtual or in person, we'll play that by ear. But the hope is that at the week before that, the leadership team can plan out a pretty robust transition retreat on the 25th. So everyone is ready to go, and we can come up with some great plans moving forward into the summer and set a good foundation. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. This is very different than in years past. In years past, we kind of did nominations, chair selections, and all those things in a single day. And the rationale for doing some of these things beforehand was so that the chairs could actually, be prepared to figure out, and the directors can be prepared to figure out and to utilize the time well at the transitions retreat, rather than, being selected into a leadership role and then being like, oh, I have to figure something out right now on the spot. So I think it'll just be a little bit better for planning purposes. So that's just some of the things that I have. And if Lucy, if you want to open the floor of questions, I don't know, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone, I know Derek has one other thing to add, but if anyone has anything else for the good of the group right now, feel free.
I just had a question about the status of the election debate as far as the president and vice presidential stuff. Does anybody know what's going on there? Because I heard rumors that it wasn't going to happen, and then it was going to happen, and that someone had like apparently there was like someone. Yeah,
I can answer. So as far as it goes for right now, Elections Commission has decided not to have a debate. There's still a lot of pushback on that coming up, but should be coming. They're working on it right now, but as of right now, they have not scheduled one.
I think that can I clarify something, Lucy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the Elections Commission originally had said not to do a debate, so not all of the people running for president and vice president were given the calendar with a debate built into it. And I think they've asked the candidates, and two of the candidates said that they do not want to debate. So that is what I will be honest about. That I think there's a need for transparency. So I just want to be honest with everybody. That's not on the Elections Commission. That has been a decision of the candidates, and they didn't agree to a debate prior to it. So that was the case.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Awesome. So now we are going to go right into the first item on our agenda tonight. Can someone please give speaking rights to Megan and Miko, Janelle, Mike, and Teddy, please?
Buddy who needs speaking rights.
Second.
Great. Thanks, guys. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So if you guys want to get right into your presentation, feel free.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you having us here and giving us some of your time. We can't tell you how much it means that we're able to be here with you guys and move forward with this. I'm just going to give an introduction. We're from Watershed Pictures. I'm one of the producers. Watershed Pictures is a student-run production company out of Villanova's social justice documentary program. So our year is culminating in a documentary that is highlighting 3 incredible Indigenous women. But before then, this whole year, we're kind of working on multiple different projects. Our multimedia, we're coordinating with the McNulty Institute for Women's Leadership and highlighting a bunch of female leaders, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. And we also have multiple initiatives going. This you're hearing from is our curriculum initiative team that Mike is going to talk about in a second. We also have some really other exciting initiatives going on. We are going to have a mural painted on the wall of Con that's facing Basie soon. We're moving forward with some land acknowledgement things. But again, we're just super appreciative that you guys are having us here, and I wanted to give you a little bit of intro about who we are. So Mike is going to take it away from here.
Hey everybody, like Megan said, thanks for having us, and a big thank you to everyone from SGA who's helped us sort of get to this point with this. So yeah, I'm just going to take you through what is in our proposed resolution here. The sort of the parliamentary procedure at the top, I think is pretty self-explanatory. It's just sort of stating sort of the intention to propose what's below. So in our letter, as we go through it, first, we just sort of acknowledge that one of the goals of Watershed is to, in our initiatives, is to highlight sort of the lack of Indigenous representation in the curriculum on campus, and sort of what we're looking to do to increase that. And it sort of says that SGA, if you guys vote for this resolution, will be supporting us in our goals there. In the second paragraph, we name the ACS program as one space that we think is ideal to sort of work on first to increase this representation. One of the reasons, or a couple of the reasons we thought were really big there, were because of the fact that every Villanova student has to take ACS in their first year. So we think it's a really good introduction to our community in terms of seeing all kinds of perspectives, and especially for us, Indigenous perspectives. Also, a little bit at the end, we request, and we're asking you to request, that the administration works with Watershed and other groups on campus to determine how to go about this in ACS. And then below in the last paragraph, it really is just sort of trying to sweeten them up a little bit, you know, saying that ACS is a really important program on campus, and that as it in sort of with the role it plays, it has a really great potential to sort of increase the impact it has on every Villanovan, and that we hope that they, you know, can work with us moving forward. That's basically, oh, and at the bottom of the letter, of course, there's an appendix which suggests some specific works and some other Indigenous authors that we think, actually, that we had help in putting together from an Indigenous Villanova alumna, Jules Jackson, who I think graduated around 20 years ago. And she's been super great. She's been working with us on a larger level with the social justice doc, with Watershed, and she basically posted on her Facebook page to, you know, her Indigenous friends, you know, looking for help for a list of authors, and she did that, and these are some of the authors that we got from her. So it's not too long of a document. Now, I guess if anyone has questions for us, hopefully we can, you know, quell all concerns, if there are any.
Yeah, so if there's if anyone wants to motion a question.
Motion. Second.
All right, people. Jake Galgano, go ahead.
Hi guys. Have you guys reached out to like any like heads or directors of the ACS program, or any faculty involved with the ACS program, to get any of their feedback or insight as to how to incorporate this, or if they think about incorporating this type of material into the seminars?
Janelle?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janelle. Thank you again for having us here. Yeah, so I spoke with the head of ACS. Her name is Dr. Mary Lou Hill. She was actually my ACS professor freshman year, so it was a very easy conversation to have with her. I basically told her everything that we were proposing to you guys already. And she gave a couple of critiques that we already had fixed up before showing it to you here today. So before, we were requiring that they use Native perspectives in the curriculum, but after speaking with her, she said that you can't really require anything in the ACS program. She ran through it all with me on like how they train the professors. And because there's so many different like courses and so many different professors from every aspect of campus to try and make the ACS program happen. They try and keep it as freeform as possible. So she went over the orientation process with me and how they give a list of materials to the professors who are about to teach the courses that year, and we're requesting to basically be on that list. She said that that was the best approach to have, and therefore every professor would have it in their hands. And it would be a whole aspect of orientation as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. T, go ahead.
You kind of answered half of my question, so I just wanted to make sure. So during the orientation, will like the professors who choose to include Indigenous material in their lessons be able to, like, will they need to have some sort of background in it? Because you know, like sometimes when you just start teaching something you don't really understand, it can almost have a negative effect. So is that in the orientation?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I asked her that, and she said that there's one professor here. His name is Dr. Roger. He's a Native American scholar, and he's offered in the past to do workshops for all of the ACS professors during that orientation. So if we add these lists, we're already in contact with the doctor and asked if he would be willing to do that type of workshop again so that they would be prepared for that.
Great, thank you. I do not see any other hands up for, Austin Glass, go right ahead.
Sorry, I just have a quick question. So in addition to like incorporating this into the ACS literature, would your documentary, like the finished product, be available to maybe link? Like, I don't know how the rights and stuff work for that, but would that be something that would happen?
Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely.
Hogging all the questions. Megan, do you want to take this one?
You can take it if you want. I was just gonna say that we're planning on. Do you mean just like will the finished documentary be available for people to view?
Like in the future.
Yeah, so we're planning on having obviously we're planning on having some type of like, if we can, outdoor social distance premiere, but we're also what the class did last year that had to get sent home was they put the film, they like linked it on their website, and I think I'm pretty sure we would have like an online kind of access to it too. I'm not sure if we would do, I think one year in the past they were raising money still, so they had it available for like a $5 donation. I'm not sure, we haven't made any decisions about like having to pay for the film yet, but it's definitely something that we want to be made available. There will be easy access to it either way. And I'm sure if there were any like professors or anything that wanted to like use it in material, that would be like unbelievable. And we would obviously, if there were any kind of donation restriction, we could waive something like that to make it more accessible.
Yeah, and to bounce off that, the ACS program has had past like social justice docs in it. I think Sankofa was in a couple of the courses as well, which is super exciting.
Lauren, go ahead.
I also just had a quick question. Like, this kind of goes off of what T said. How do you kind of like ensure that like maybe Native students or like minority students don't get like offended by this? Like if they feel like a professor's not like doing justice or teaching it like the proper way, and also how do we also like make sure that they also don't feel singled out, like the rest of the class or the professor wants them to speak on the matter?
I think a big part of that can be obviously what you said about like students feeling singled out. That's not something that we can like have any kind of say in a resolution, but I totally agree that that's something that definitely needs to be addressed. And I think if we were to take this to ACS, like given that suggestion, we would absolutely make it known that the doctor that Janelle recommended, who's giving these kind of like orientations to be able to teach those texts. Hopefully, maybe we can even like have him coordinate with some people from IGR. I know they're like really just incredible at kind of creating spaces to talk about those things, especially for professors too, because it's just as important for professors to know how to address those things as students are to be able to talk about it, but have those things kind of addressed before they're able to teach it, so they know that this isn't something that they could teach in the same way that they're teaching texts that they've gone over a million times, and that there might be students in the class that these are really important to and don't want to be done. They want to be done justice. So that's definitely something that we can keep in mind and bring up to the heads of ACS, depending on how they react to this resolution. But I appreciate that. That's really important point.
Yeah, I think just to add one thing, for us and for ACS, if they agree to work with us, this resolution is just a jumping off point to start a conversation. to sort of, to demonstrate student interest. So I think all these really good points that have been raised about how to best implement, more Indigenous texts in ACS. Those are conversations that, we'll have a lot of time to have with them moving forward, and we'll make sure to do our best, whatever we can to make sure that, obviously I agree that any sort of singling out would be awful in a class. So we would definitely work to make sure that that does not happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think that's a conversation we should take up directly with Dr. Roger that will be doing those orientations for the professors, because that specific issue is more about the training of the professor versus the content that's available and used in ACS. So if it's able to be incorporated within the orientation that they're given, that will be more helpful than anything.
Thank you, guys. I do not see any other hands up for questions now.
Motion to debate.
Second.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone like to start us off? Andrew Klein, go right ahead.
I just want to say that as a current freshman in the environmental leadership communitas, it's something that my ACS professor has put a big focus on. And so a lot of our texts already are from Indigenous authors and have that focus. And I think it's a great experience that all students should definitely understand. Our syllabus also includes a land acknowledgement about the fact that Villanova's campus is like Native American grounds. And so I think it's something that really should be addressed, and I am in full support of this.
Thank you. Lauren Amu, go right ahead.
I'm also in support of this. I feel like this kind of opens the conversation to get like minority voices heard in ACS. I think the ACS has a huge platform just because all the students here have to take it. So I think that this is a great step to open that. Yeah.
Thank you. T, go ahead.
I'd also like to speak in favor of the bill because, unlike Andrew, I've had the complete opposite experience where I haven't had any literature by any minority group, and I think that's a shame, and I think this is a really great first step.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Motion to vote.
Second.
All right, give me 1 sec. And the poll will be live. Technology. All right. And here we go. All righty. Awesome. And with that, we have passed this resolution by vote of unanimity. So thank you guys. That's awesome work. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Great. Awesome. Watershed, thank you guys so much for being here. We are so excited that you brought this to us too. Like, this is a great thing to be a part of, and you have our full support now. And we'll obviously be in contact about what next steps are, but thank you guys so much for coming tonight, presenting, and we're looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Thank you guys so much. This was really great, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Okay.
Lucy, I thought your ringtone was victory music.
I was really hoping no one had heard the ringtone, Derek. Thank you for confirming that everyone heard it. So awesome. Next.
It was good victory music.
Awesome. Hi, YouTube. How are we? Okay, next up, we have our amendment proposition from Mr. Andrew Klein. And as you guys know, when amendments come up, we only do questions the first time around. And if nothing changes and there's no alteration, or if it stays on the floor, next week we debate the amendment and then it goes into writing. So we only have to do a little bit of it tonight, but it's still important. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew, and here you go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lucy. So basically, to summarize this amendment in 2 parts, the first part is rooted in the fact that our committee structures right now, 3 of our 4 committees actually violate the Constitution because we exceed the maximum members allowed on a committee. So that's the first major change in the amendment, to basically set them as committee minimums so that there's no cap. The second part is mostly to do with ICC and their constitutional events. And it basically is just requiring 2 events an academic year with the provost office, but it also changes the language to just be the provost office in general and not necessarily the provost, so that we don't have to bother Provost Majidi or whoever fills that role in the future if he were to leave. So that is a basic summary. I am very new to writing something on my own, but I've had a lot of eyes look over this. So if you have any questions, I will gladly take them.
All right, guys, is there a motion?
Can I motion,
Motion.
is Amanda in the chat, because I knew she looked over it? Can I motion for her to have speaking rights?
Yeah. Someone's got a second.
Second.
Okay, is there a motion to question?
Motion
to question.
Second. Awesome. So now anyone raise your hand, we'll go up with it. Preston, you can go first.
Okay, hi. I just have 2 questions, one to each part. So the first part, I know that you said like you said each committee had was breaking the constitutional laws by having more people and stuff. So you wanted to even it out, or you wanted to allow for more seats? Can you just clarify? I was a little confused by that part.
So yeah, I can talk about that. So currently the committees are each set at maximums, and there's not enough seats for the number of senators we have. So that's the first problem as well. I kind of forgot that part. But 3 of our 4 committees exceed the maximum that's set in the current constitution. So I personally would like to see them evened out, but I don't believe it says anywhere that they have to be of an even size. It just sets a minimum number of members so that they're at least like fundamentally at their base, smallest size, they're equal.
Okay, and so do you feel in as of right now in Senate that a committee needs more chairs, or a committee needs less chairs, and that's why you want to do that, or just because it's breaking constitution?
It doesn't change anything with the chair positions. There's still 1 chair per committee, but members.
Sorry, I meant members.
Break the constitution.
Okay, and then for the ICC, did you talk to the current ICC chair, or Joe or JJ about maybe why we don't about adding more events, or was this just something you just wanted to see happen in at Villanova?
I did not talk with the current ICC chair because, correct me if I'm wrong, it is Brett who is not rerunning for to be in the Senate for next year. So this doesn't change anything personally for him. It'll be a new committee head next semester or next academic year. I did talk with, I know Amanda for sure looked over it, and I believe when I met with Joe, Joe did also look over it. And Andrew from Judicial.
All right, thank you, Andrew.
Steph Frank, go ahead.
Hi. So I just have a question. I do sit in ICC. I have been, so I've been under 2 leadership position under 2 leaders that run ICC. And I guess I just wanted to ask you why the specific amendment towards ICC holding 2 events. Can you kind of maybe explain why you think that, and why specifically ICC holding 2 events?
Yeah, so right now, I believe Campus Climate is required to have 2 forums with 2 town hall forums, and MSJ is also, I believe, required to have 2 with the current constitution. So it kind of just makes the constitutional events a little more uniform. But I also think that ICC has a little more of a laid back event. It's more of a conversation style than a formal town hall. So it's a lot easier to conduct. It's more kind of getting the space and getting everyone to show up. I think that this academic year, we've kind of seen a lot of questions show up about why things are the way they are. And I think that an event like this gives a great platform for the provost office to kind of handle those questions directly. Not that we don't have communication with them, but I think that this is a great platform that students can kind of like unfiltered. They don't have to go through a messenger. So that was kind of my reasoning there.
Lucy, can I ask a follow-up question directly to that or no? Okay, so I like totally understand like where you're coming from in terms of like ICC as like committee, you know. I guess I understand the laid back approach where you're thinking, but I respectfully disagree with that because I feel like we do a lot of things behind the scenes. But I guess I just want to ask you maybe why you said directly with the provost office, because there was an event this year. We co-sponsored an event with DUSAC, which is basically a council for the business school in terms of like they also like oversee some like intellectual climate based aspects. So the curriculum for VSB2. So we did build a relationship with them, and also the year before, probably not directly with the provost, but we took a strong like resolution stand against not increasing tuition for textbooks. So is there, I guess this is I don't know how I would phrase this, Lucy, but is there a way to maybe like phrase instead of the provost office just like at least one with the provost office and then one with another academic committee on campus? Is that I don't know
motion to amend?
Yeah, sorry. Motion to amend.
Wait, before anyone seconds that, could I just pop in with a point of clarification? I believe that we already do 2 pizza with the provost a year, once a semester. So I feel like this actually isn't a change other than the wording with the provost office and the provost.
I believe Maggie is, we have done 2 each year for many of the past years. It just wasn't spelled out explicitly in the Constitution. So a motion on the floor would be to say 2 open forum events with the provost office and 1 other academic office. And no one has seconded the motion to amend. So
Second.
we want to second that? Okay. With the provost and academic office per academic year. Okay, all those in favor of adding this line to Article D, Section 3, please say aye.
Point of clarification.
Aye.
Point of clarification. This amendment, just for the point of the clarification, this amendment would say that ICC is to host 2 open forum events with the provost office and another academic office. So that would be 3 events.
No, it's only 2. One's with the provost, one's with another office.
Okay,
I think we should specify
we are
that.
not guaranteeing 2. We are not guaranteeing 2 like town halls or pizza with the provost. We're guaranteeing 1 pizza with the provost and another one with another academic office. 1 open forum event.
There we go. Okay. Sorry, that was confusing. Clarified better. All those in favor of changing Article D, Section 3, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
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 Okay, so the change isn't going through.
Aye.
You're not amending it. You're going back to 2. And the next person with a question is Tom DeSoy. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to what Preston was asking earlier. So I think it's section 2, number 7. It's the first thing right there. Can you just elaborate on the wording of that? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I just find it really confusing.
About the equal members part?
About that, and then for an even division in which no committee may be larger than another committee by greater than 1 member.
Okay, so if I didn't know how to say that concisely. So it might be a little confusing. Thank you for the Monopoly jokes, James. So basically it would say that no committee can be larger than another committee by 2 members. So like obviously because there's 4 committees, we can't like evenly like realistically they'll never all be exactly the same size. It would say that no committee can have 2 more members than any other committee. Does that make more sense?
A little bit.
Okay. Next up, we have Elizabeth Vaughn.
So kind of going off of that question on like the division of the committees, like, I don't know, personally, just it's kind of a question, but do you think it's best to have like the committees all equally? Like, to my understanding this year, like they're not completely equal on size. And like, personally, I feel like that is, you know, people choose what they want to do. So do you think that's beneficial to have like, would you rather have people where you want them to be or like have the committees completely even?
Lucy, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now I believe they're all at either 6 or 7 members. So they are like as equal as they can get with the number of senators we have. Like that's basically what that line says with like, because they can't be perfectly equal with like a weird number, a non-divisible by 4 number of senators. So it doesn't necessarily change much, but there's also a line in the current constitution that says that you can join a second committee. So it would allow people to still follow their interests. And I think most people this year are interested in the committee that they're on. And it would basically give people the option to now join a second committee because it increases the sizes that the committees can have.
Wait, point of clarification. I actually don't, I'm going to check on this. I don't think that's true. To my understanding, that revolves to an ad hoc committee that you're allowed to serve. And then there's like, you're only allowed to serve on one standing committee. You're not allowed to serve on multiple standing committees, whereas you can serve on multiple ad hoc committees. But I will get back to you on that clarification, Andrew.
That's it. That's the point of clarification. So you can only sit on one standing committee, and if you choose to join an ad hoc, you can do that as well, but you can't be on like campus climate and intellectual climate. But yes, we do have 6 members on each as of right now. Some committees need more than others, some have less than others, but each committee is at 6 members at least right now. Jake Galgano, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I was just curious if it was ever considered to put in like a bottom and top proportion of the number of like sitting senators, which should comprise each committee, rather than like offering concrete numbers just to like go with so like it can work as the numbers of the Senate like ebb and flow a little bit. Like, was there any consideration for that? And then additionally, do you think there would ever be a legitimate reason why a committee should have like two more members than another committee?
So to touch on your first point, when I met with Joe about this amendment, when I had first written
It's 8:45.
Sorry about that. My computer announces the time. So originally I wrote it as changing all of the maximums to be, I believe I set them at 11, but when I met with Joe, he said that when the Constitution was like originally written, it was supposed to be minimum numbers instead of maximums. And so he wasn't sure how we ended up with maximums at some point. So I think that by putting a maximum cap on the committee sizes, we have the potential to eventually run into that problem again of where we're exceeding the sizes of committees. So I personally don't think that like adding a maximum is a good option. I forget what your second point was though. So can you remind me?
Yeah, and just to maybe clarify what I was saying, like, for like proportion, like each committee must make up like 18 to 22% of the sitting Senate population, not like a set number. That way, if the size were to ever radically change over time, you have proportions in place rather than having to alter these numbers again at a later date. And then the second question was, do you think there's ever a potential reason why, a legitimate reason why a committee maybe should have 2 more members than another committee?
To answer your question before I forget again, I don't think that there is ever a real reason for that. I think this year with us sitting at relatively equal sizes, we haven't faced any problems. I know we weren't able to hold events, which could pose a potential problem, but I don't foresee that happening. I think as long as we're all dedicated to our positions and our work in our committees, that shouldn't be a problem.
Great, thank you. Derek, go ahead.
Yeah, so Andrew, my question is, given that you're advocating for the committees to have equal numbers in membership, have you spoken with any of the other committee heads in terms of why they might think that they need more members than others, or why they think they might need less members than others? Has there been any correspondence there?
I have not made any correspondence of that matter, but with us, with our committees currently sitting at relatively equal, I did not foresee that as a necessary communication.
Joe D'Antonio, go for Joe D'Antonio, excuse me. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Lucy, and thank you, Andrew. I just had a quick question going back to your proposal for the ICC with regards to hosting the event with the provost and or someone from the provost office. I'm not too sure prior to my appointment on SGA, but I do know in the past that we have been able to secure Provost Majidi, and he's very gracious with his time, to do pizza with the provost once a semester. So I was wondering if you could explain why you think it might be beneficiary to have someone from the provost office rather than Provost Majidi himself.
Yeah, that's a great point. So currently, like the Community First Committee, the academics rep from the provost office is not Provost Majidi. It's Randy Weinstein, who I believe, this might be butchering his title, but he's the Assistant Provost for Teaching and Learning. And I think he has some great insight as well. He's very involved in what the provost office is doing. And so I think, like, obviously our goal should still be to get Provost Majidi, but if for some reason Provost Majidi were to be unavailable, and I still think that people from that office are a great resource, and that's why I changed it to be that way.
Thank you.
Lauren Amu, go right ahead.
I have a question that this kind of goes towards what Derek had asked, but the changes that you've made to each committee, like, did you reach out to the committees? Because like I don't know, like, we're all like part of our different committees, so like I don't know if you would necessarily know, like, maybe, like, and also a lot of the committee chairs are older than us, so like they could have reasoning behind like why they do the things certain, like the way that they do them. So like, did you reach out to them, like, to ask them why they do those things? And then second, I'm still a little bit confused on your like your your numbers on base, like, of the like not more than two, like within or difference or whatever that is. Like, I feel like as a Senate, like everyone ran here to like, because they want to make their specific impact. So like they would also tailor the committee they join to the impact that they're trying to make. So like, wouldn't capping that number kind of, like, we don't want people to be in committees that they don't want to be in, because that doesn't help us as an organization. So that's just like my question.
So to answer your first question, it's basically the same answer I gave Derek when he asked. Since the committees are currently sitting at relatively equal sizes with a relatively full Senate, considering the seats that we currently have in place, I did not see the need to reach out because I don't really foresee that being much of a change with that wording. But also I'm a little confused by what your second point is asking. I think that like, from my stance, it doesn't change anything with the sizes of our committees. We're currently like, the way that's written right now, we currently would meet those standards, I believe. I'm not aware of where Sam and Joey's Senate committee assignments were. So that might have changed things from the last I looked, but I do not believe that would really change anything with our current committee structure.
Let me clarify. Like, that wasn't what I was asking. Is like, don't you think that capping it might, like, because we don't know like what future senators are going to want to do. There's going to be
no
new
cap.
freshmen.
It's setting a minimum. It's removing a maximum to create a minimum.
I wasn't finished. What I was saying was, you said that there's not more than two. So like you're, in a sense, you're capping it, because they're like, if one group has more than two, like the Senate is balanced right now, but you don't know what's going to happen next year. So like, what if we have to keep coming back and changing it? That was my question. Like, you're not trying to cap it, but in a way, it sort of is a cap.
I don't personally see that as being a cap on them. It just basically says that they need to be equal, but since the math doesn't perfectly work out unless the number of Senate seats is divisible by 4, there has to be another way to say equal. So it just rewords the word equal to work out with the math, since our committee member sizes will not be divisible by 4 at all times.
Okay. T, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, like, currently, so when we came in, I know we chose, I think we had to choose 2, right? Like 2 options. So, and I know all of us got one of our 2 options. So has there ever been like a year where people didn't get their 1 or 2 options? And if so, was it because there was like a cap or something? I just wanted to know how that whole process works.
I can answer that because I have done the committee distribution, like I assign the committees, and I've done them for the past 2 years. So what we do is you guys rank them in the order in which you would most prefer them. This year, the 6 2024 senators ended up being evenly split. You each chose, like each committee was filled with 1 or 2 of the new members. But in previous years, we've had students or members have to go to their 3rd or 4th committee. Just because the numbers aren't like we are trying to fill them rather than giving people preference. It's definitely something we've been able to work away from as the Senate's gotten bigger. But in recent years, SGA members definitely have had to sit on committees that aren't their number 1 preference.
So there's technically always been like a 1 or 2 difference in each committee.
Mostly, yeah, the most it's ever been is 2 usually. I mean, as far as I know, but it's usually just 2 at most. But Steph, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just have a quick question about the MSJ committee part. You added the director of PR there with director of programming. Is there like a specific reason? Sorry, my lights went out. Sorry about that. Lights went out. Things. But why is there like director of PR there? I feel like usually for events we already work with them for advertising and things like that. So I guess I just wanted to know your reasoning behind it.
Yeah, so another aspect of this bill with some of the word changes is just to tighten up the wording so that it's more uniform between the committees. And so I'm not sure if this bill said, like, if any one of the committees said director of public relations before, but in one of the previous iterations of the Constitution that I found on the drive, it had listed director of public relations with some of the committees. So it was just a more uniform thing. And since we already utilize that resource, it doesn't necessarily change anything that we're doing. It just kind of enforces the fact that, like, that's a resource that we have within our organization that we should be taking advantage of to make our events more of a success.
James Dunbar can't raise his hand because he's recording, so he's going to go next, then Austin Glass, then Preston, then Jake, and that's it for tonight.
So one of my questions, it's really just about 2A7, about these equal numbers. As someone who's been on Slack for 2 years, I just think sometimes there's more responsibilities that also then come with more students being represented from those positions. I think that is just excess verbiage that complicates what you have laid out with, the minimum of 6 committee members, and all that stuff. In addition, I don't know specifically what the caucus is going to look like in terms of longevity and permanence, but I just would be a little bit concerned with this having to do an equal distribution with a little bit of that unknown, and then the added complexity of what this is saying. Do you think this is going to be interested? Would you be interested in just striking out 2A7 as you clearly have minimum boundaries for all these. It just sounds like an extra tightening of, whereas you could read the Constitution as a little bit of a elastic band of flexibility, and not literal sense of what's written.
I personally prefer the idea of the committees being equal sizes. Obviously, there's been a lot of questions about that, so I'm open to whatever the general opinion of the Senate is.
So would you be open to me doing a motion of amendment to strike A27?
Go for it, James.
All right, this is going to be a soft feeler. If there's an amendment to strike 2A7
Motion, James.
and leave nothing else, is
Motion,
there a
James.
motion to amend the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to amend section 2A, and it would be to strike out Article 7. All those in
Correct.
favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, so with that, this article will be strike through. Andrew, I can't see it because I have like the bar at the top because I'm sharing my screen. Do you mind just striking through Article 7? Thank you. Okay, Austin, go ahead and ask your question.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to unraise my hand, but that like alleviated my question.
Okay, sounds good. Preston, go right ahead.
I just wanted, because I was looking at the bill and there were like, different things. I think Stephanie brought up like you added like PR and like different little things to each committee. And I think Derek asked this, but I've kind of forgot. Did you reach out to every single committee just saying like, hey, like I'm writing this bill, I think I want to add this, and like do you feel like there was like, I want to word this properly. Do you feel like there was like a problem with the way the committees were running currently for you to add like, some of the new stuff?
So overall, there's nothing new. For the most part, it's not adding anything. It's refining the language so that they're uniform, just to make the Constitution like more understandable from section to section. The director of PR is the only addition for most of them. And it's something that we already do. And in a previous iteration of the Constitution, it existed. In terms of reaching out to the committee heads, when Derek asked and when Lauren asked, I did say that I didn't reach out to them because I don't foresee it changing most of the actions or any of the actions that our committees are currently performing.
Okay, thank you. I just really wanted to clarify because we've had a lot of questions. That's why we asked my question.
Jake Galgano, go ahead.
Yeah, this might be a point of clarification, but I just guess if we currently are in violation of the Constitution and that committees are too big because like a max cap was put on, like is there a consequence if now that that's been brought to attention if this were to not pass? Like if we are like in violation of what's written right now, like is there a consequence for that?
It's 9 o'clock.
It did it again. Lucy or James, or I don't know if Joe's still here, they might be able to better answer the like repercussions aspect. But I decided I had Andrew look over the legislation just to make sure that like it didn't like mess up anything else in the Constitution. But I wanted to wait until we kind of like figured out if we were passing this amendment or not before like I looked into pursuing any sort of like what happens if we are still in violation of the Constitution.
Yeah, and just one more thing. I think with the minimums, it's also, I don't know if it's actually technically possible for us with our count of who's in the Senate to make that threshold. And also just as a point, like there's not really any force, like judicial, there's nothing we can do besides like a remedy of flipping the Constitution, so.
Yeah, James is correct. I believe we have, when the Viso seat was added, I believe that made, that gave us too many members for the current maximums that are on our committees. So we can't align with the Constitution.
So I know there are elections commissions meetings tonight and I do not see any hands up. I will keep the link open if anyone has further questions for Andrew. But other than that, is there a motion to adjourn for everyone?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Great. James, you can stop the recording. Thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe, YouTube. See ya.